hit the weapon DBS, I want to ask the developers to remove that weapon from the game. We play in the sandbox, in the boot camp, and you have the gun and you're full HP, and one guy comes to the DBS and you dead. One shot. This is why I want to ask to remove that weapon from the game.
We're going to be discussing a controversial topic, right? And that is the DBS getting banned. So many people, and my voice sounds so bad, so I haven't uploaded in a few days. But we are back. So we're going to be breaking down everything you need to know about the DBS and the DBS ban. And when I say so many people are asking for this, we're talking all the way from pro players all the way down to the noobs. People are saying the DBS must be stopped. Before we get into the drama, let's give you guys a quick crash course in the history of the DBS since it was first released in the game, dating back to all the way to February 2020. That's over 3 years ago. The DBS was introduced into PUBG Mobile, but it wasn't as you see it now. When the DBS first released in the game, it was in the airdrops. And people were like, why the hell are they releasing a shotgun into the game that's airdrop only? Why isn't this a world spawn? So when it first came into the game, everybody on socials, everybody was making videos saying, you know, this weapon is a lot of fun, but it shouldn't be in an airdrop. You know, I don't want to go to an airdrop where I want an or I want an AUG or a Groza, and I met with a shotgun, you know, which back then the majority of players were not using this weapon. So fast forward 7 months later. Now let's fast forward 7 months later in September of 2020. That is when they took the DBS from the airdrops and made it world spawn. Nobody was talking about, balance changes, loot balance, anything like that. Everyone just seemed to be happy for once. But May 2022, I got all the stats right here. So May 2022, in update 2.0, PUBG Mobile dropped a huge update. That's when they did the whole remake. That's where you guys see the Midstein gameplay. There's a reason for it, because this is a massive update. This is when they basically did a complete makeover to Livik. But in that same update, they made a bunch of changes to the shotguns to include the DBS. Let me go ahead and read this to you guys. Increase the hit damage ratio from 1.25 to 1.5. Also, they increased more damage to limbs, going from 0.95 to 1.05. Those are massive changes, you guys. This is massive changes. The other one was they increased the long distance damage. So damage drop off, depending on how far away you are, was reduced, meaning it's that much more effective, especially in close range, which is what you traditionally use shotguns for anyway. So clearly with all these shotgun buffs, PUBG Mobile was they were trying to change the meta around. Everyone was still using, their double ARs or a couple updates prior to that. SMGs got a huge buff. So they really wanted to shake up the meta and wanted people to start using other weapons. They were trying to spotlight and highlight how effective shotguns can be. However, when you have a weapon like the DBS in comparison to all the other shotguns, it's not only the most effective because it's basically a shotgun that you can spray. That's what makes it so deadly. It's not like the 1897 where it's 2 shots and you got to reload. 2 shots and you got to reload. The DBS, you can basically spam fire this thing, and it's a 1-shot, 1 knock, or 1-shot, 1-kill shotgun. And this is why so many people, especially, we could talk about classics all day long. However, when we're talking about the pro scene, when we're talking about the pros are so sick and tired of the DBS because of how overly effective it is. And that's what the big issue is here. If you guys ask me my opinion for the DBS and what I think, or what I'm feeling the majority of people are asking for here, is I think the best way wouldn't necessarily be to just nerf it into the ground to where no one's going to play it anymore, because shotguns in of itself still require a high level of skill. And I know what you guys are saying. Oh, well, someone camping can just, sit in a closet, wait for someone to walk in, and then boom, they can kill them. But then again, a camper will be able to do that with basically any weapon, or any shotgun for that matter. If someone's going to be camping you in a corner and you don't see them, they're going to knock you, they're going to thirst you, you're going to break your device, and it's just not good for anybody. However, instead of nerfing it into the ground to where it's completely unplayable, what I think the best solution here for the DBS would be to put it back in the airdrops. And then by doing so, the people who really want this weapon, who really want to spam fire the DBS, then guess what? They can go ahead and have fun pushing airdrops and go ahead and get one that way. And if you're not a fan of the airdrop, because then you're saying, because I can already know, I can close my eyes and I can already picture my comment section for people who hate the weapon in general, who go ahead and they're like, well, now I'm going to push an airdrop and I'm expecting an AUM, but instead I'm met with a DBS. One thing in this game that you have to understand is everything about this game is RNG. From the loot spawns to where the weapon spawns are going to be, where the flares are going to be, what's going to come down when you shoot a flare, when you go to airdrops in general. You might be wanting an AUG, but instead you get an MG3 or you get a Mark 14 when you're hoping for a Groza. It's just part of the game. RNG is part of the game. Now, if you're not a fan of the airdrop solution, which they could very easily do, it's already in the game code. It was the DBS was first released in the airdrops. The other thing that they could easily do is reduce the amount of spawns that the DBS is producing in game right now. They could drop that down a little bit, because right now you can pretty much go to any town on any map, any building, and you'll be able to find a DBS. It's basically guaranteed. If they scaled that back, think how many times have you looted an M24? I mean, truly think about it. How many times have you found an M24 this season? It's not that many. Even the SLR, even though the SLR is trash, there's certain weapons in the game that just don't show up that often in world spawns. It's very, very rare. M24 being one of them. There could be 2 or 3 on the entire map of Erangel in a match. They could do something very similar to the DBS if you're not a fan of putting it back where it was originally, which was the airdrops. And I mean, when you're talking about nerfing this weapon, I mean, they could drop back the time it takes to reload it. They could also do something like make it single shot, instead of having it being a 2-tap like it is right now. It's tough though. It's a very tough situation, because the moment a weapon gets too OP, everybody wants it nerf. However, with the DBS, it still does require a certain amount of skill. It's not necessarily just a weapon where it's just a point and shoot type weapon. You still have to know how to control the weapon. You still have to be able to track a moving target in a CQC situation. It still requires a high level of skill, just like any of the shotguns in the game do. I mean, that's just a fact. But of course, I mean, pro players are able to utilize any weapon in the game and do it effectively. But in something like classics, there's definitely a huge skill gap when you're talking about, tryhards and then someone who's just like, logs in on Sundays to play. There's definitely a huge gap there. And each one of them with this weapon are not going to have the exact same outcome. I mean, the fact that so many people actually want the weapon completely removed from the game definitely came as a surprise to me. When I was watching that footage that you guys saw earlier, and reading the forums, I was very, very surprised to see that people outright just want the weapon banned. Just control alt delete the weapon from the game. But I think there are some compromises. There are some solutions that I think we can come up with that hopefully can be implemented. So anyway, sound off in the comment section like you guys already do. What do you think? Should the weapon be banned? Should it be nerfed?